In week 7, we are going to get into automation. And in the automation, the term I like to use is weaving the instruments together. The most important thing to understand about automation is that the design of the human brain is that it's only really efficient when it's focusing on one thing at a time. And so when you're making a mix, essentially you always want the listener to be focused on one thing, or like I say, like one and a half things. Like there's a primary focus and a secondary focus. The primary focus is the hook. The secondary focus is the counter hook, something that helps to set up or set the stage for the hook to be effective. When you get into automation, what you're doing is you're deciding what you want the person to focus on. So if you're starting off a song and the song has an acoustic guitar, and acoustic guitar is doing these arpeggios, and that's the most interesting thing that you have there. So you have that and a shaker and a tambourine. And so the focus of your automation in the mix is to kind of set the balance of the shaker and the tambourine so that the focus is on the acoustic guitar and this cool melody that is playing with the arpeggios. But now it leads into where the first lead vocal part comes in. So now you need to adjust the automation so that the focus shifts from the arpeggios naturally right into the voice. So it just drops you off. It's sort of like a taxi that carries you over right to the person that you want to go see, right? And then now you're there in front of them, and now they're telling you a story. And everything else in the mix has to support what that story is, right? So if there's drama in the story, then the instruments that support that drama need to be right in there and felt to help support what the message of the voice is, what the story is at that point in the song. And then the story builds. So you get to a place where now the vocal has left off and you're picking up with something else. So maybe there's a guitar part that takes over, an electric guitar part that's playing some kind of a riff, right? Some ad libs. And that becomes your focus, right? And then the rest of it is like now the rest of the band maybe is just kind of driving the song along. So you kind of keep in this pumping kind of movement. Your focus is on the lead, and then it just fades, drops right into the lead vocal again, so you get the next part of the story. And there's always one thing that you're focusing on. And the art of automation is in the setup, right? How do you kind of prepare somebody for the next thing that's going to happen? Or how do you set them up so that the next thing that happens is interesting or exciting or draws or keeps their attention? A great mix will carry your attention from beginning to end. When you think about a song, right, you actually, in your mind, you will sing that one thread that goes through the song, that one thing that focus, and that could be the guitar solo, right? You hear that in your head most to the lead vocal, to all the lyrics. You go through all the lyrics. You hear the guitar ad libs that kind of carry you to the next stage, the piano solo, right? The big background vocals at the end of the song, right? And that whole thing kind of carries. But you have to have one thing to focus on, and it has to be interesting, and there has to be contrast. There has to be some shape to the mix. I talk a lot about this in the mix mapping with the Mixing with Mike classes, right? That, when it's important that all those things, they have a certain characteristic. There's some element that keeps you driving, right, forward, right? With certain songs, it's about dynamic changes, right? Starting off small and bunched up in the middle and then get really big in the chorus section. That's one way to go. You can go up and down, you can go front and back, you can go in and out, you can go volume, louder, softer, right? Different instrumentation, where you bring it in, how you bring it in, how much depth. Those are the things that you're automating, that you're playing with, right? And this is like, it's like making a movie, right? It's like making a movie, right? What is the stage? You're setting the sound stage for each scene, right? And how does that sound? This is a really big, important part of the song. It has to be epically big, right? You have to have this big, these epic vista views, right, for this part of the song. Or you have to create that in audio form. And that's what automation is about, right? Automation of effects and delays is all about carrying you from one place. You're filling an empty space, right? That lacks attention, that carries you into the next thing that you need to hear. So the placement of these things is not accidental. It's like it's all very purposeful, and it has to be. That's the whole thing about automation, right? And the fade ins and fade outs and the way that you weave the instruments to each other, right? What you're featuring, right? What really drives the energy of the track? What creates the groove, right? You should never lose the kind of bounce of a mix. Really critical, right? That's class 7, right? All the automation and fine tuning.